Welcome to the stage reading of Widows by Ariel Doffman. My name is Azam Chemwa and I'm the director of the show. Just a few house rules, ladies and gentlemen. Please put your phones on silent and try to minimize your movement so as not to disturb your fellow audience members. After the stage reading, we're going to be having a post-reading discussion, so please do stick around so we can engage in the issues that are being dealt with in the play. And then also in your programs, you're given a slip of paper, a feedback form. Please do give us your feedback, what you think of the event. And also, if you'd like to keep in touch with us, please provide us with your contact details. Ladies and gentlemen, Widows.
Widows by Ariel Doffman. Act 1, Scene 1. The women by the river, washing clothes.
The baby won't speak?
Not a word.
He's how old?
Old enough to talk.
Good that he's quiet. He'll stay out of trouble.
He has to talk sometime.
Not if he knows what's good for him.
There is something wrong with the water today.
You say that every day.
Nothing's coming clean.
Whisper to him. You just don't scrub hard enough. Whisper right in his ear. That baby misses his papa.
He never saw his papa.
I'll whisper to him.
Work his tongue with your fingers, a little each day.
Fidelia tells him stories.
Instead of doing her chores. Mama.
There's something strange about the water today. He's a sad baby.
You think he knows that his papa is...
Shh. He knows what I know.
Father Gabriel enters, breathlessly.
Everyone, come. It's time. It's time.
He exits. Cecilia enters.
The jeep just pulled up. The new captain's here. It's a big jeep.
She exits. The women put down their washing, bring dry wet things, load everything into baskets and, whispering to each other, exit. Sophia is left alone, sitting by the river. Fidelia re-enters.
Grandma, don't you want to see?
Alexandra re-enters, dragging Alexis.
Stay with your grandma.
I want to see the new captain. I want to see what he looks like.
I don't want him to see what you look like. I'm a smart woman. Why did I have such stupid children? Fidelia, Grandma, they said this captain, he's bringing news. Don't you want to... Fidelia, come. And you have turned everything upside down. The others think you've gone crazy, and my children don't listen to me now.
Alexandra and Fidelia exit. Alexis looks at the silent old woman, who watches the river expectantly.
Grandma? Are you crazy?
Yes.
But when did you go crazy?
Do I scare you?
No.
Little rabbit.
I'm not. I'm a man.
Not yet. Lucky.
The captain enters, on foot, following a surveyor's map. Under his arm, plans and designs in plastic tubes.
You, boy, can you tell me if...
Alexis runs away.
Come back here, Damn. Excuse me, Mrs. I'm trying to...
Sophia shows no sign of being aware of his presence.
Is this the bend where the women do their washing?
He picks up a piece of clothing.
Must be. I thought it would be greener. We're going to build here. Big plant. For fertilizer manufacturing.
The old woman mutters, shifts her skirts.
What did you... Are you from around here? Your husband. Does he ever talk about fertilizer? Well, I think you just have to look at how arid it all is to see its poor soil nutrients. That's why. Does your husband ever express the need for modern fertilizers for his land?
No.
Oh. Well, I think fertilizer would help. The army is going to build a plant here. Then he'll see what he's missing. Your husband. Bigger crops. Exports. What are you doing here? Are you waiting for someone?
Yes.
I am Captain...
I'm waiting for my father.
Your father?
And my husband.
How old is your father?
And my sons.
Oh, your father must be at
Old.
least been waiting long?
She looks at him.
The others. They all ran off to the village to have a look at you.
She laughs. A small, dry, sly laugh. It makes him uncomfortable at first. Then he gets it, and he laughs too. Then she stops laughing.
All of us. We've all been waiting a long time.
Act 1, Scene 2. A light comes up on an empty chair on the other side of the stage. After a few seconds, the narrator steps into the light. He talks directly to the audience.
Was when I was in exile. That's when. I couldn't get to sleep at night. I'd wait for silence, for all the foreign noises of the foreign country I was living in to die down. I'd wait for the children in the apartment next door to go to bed, so their voices wouldn't remind me that they were not my children. That my children were far away. I'd wait for their parents and every other mother and father in the neighborhood to stop arguing to the death in that language I still could not understand, but which everybody for miles and miles around me spoke. I'd wait for the stars to darken so I wouldn't have to see them, to be reminded of how different the stars were back home. Even the bitching constellations were my enemies. That's when even the dogs had stopped barking in the ways that dogs bark when you are far from your country and you cannot sleep. My country? Does it matter? Do I really have to name that country? Among all the countries, the ones you see on television and the many you don't, where a few men decide the life and death of the rest of the people. A few men decide that one man shall disappear, that another man shall go into exile and never see his children again. Do I really have to name it? Just like the country where a river flows and an old woman waits. Do you really need me to name that country?
Act 1, Scene 3. The captain and Emmanuel.
Did you find the bend in the river, sir?
Of course I did. I can read a map. The river is not exactly a mystery to follow.
I'm supposed to drive you, sir. It's my job.
I'll let you know what your job is, orderly.
Yes, sir.
When I want to walk, I'll walk. Understood?
As you say, sir.
Good. You're from around here, aren't you?
On the other side of the hill, Captain. 40 miles from here.
So you understand these people?
Sort of, Captain.
Sort of. Captain Ukweta said you knew your way around.
I'm different from them, Captain. I was employed by Mr. Castoria. I know better. With your permission, sir, I don't think I'll stay here my whole life. I'd like to...
I met an old woman. Tough old bitch. By the river. I got the impression she was expecting someone on a raft or something.
Old Sophia. The Fuentes woman.
You know her?
She sits by the river all day, sir. Has for months. Probably a little... She told you she was waiting for her men?
Could barely get a word out of her. Her father and her husband and
Their sons. A lot of the men in the valley are... They're gone, sir.
gone?
Disappeared. They...
Arrested. How many men in all are missing?
All, sir.
All? All the men are missing.
I think you should speak to Lieutenant, sir.
All the men. That wasn't mentioned in the briefing. In my other jurisdictions, I kept a lid on that. Making men vanish like that is no good. It drives the women out of their minds. Even if you give them a finger to bury. But where there's just nothing, they go crazy. And then the world does. Hard times.
Yes, sir.
She has a little mustache.
Sir?
I hate women with mustaches.
Looking out the window.
Her whole family.
All the men.
I suppose then we'll have to forgive her. Her mustache. Won't we?
Father Gabriel enters.
We're glad you finally made it, Captain. We heard you were lost.
Who told you that, Father?
Oh, in Camacho we end up knowing everything, Captain. But the women are waiting.
Women waiting. We don't want that.
Act 1, Scene 4. The captain is addressing the women.
The war is over. In the cities, in the mountains, in this valley. What remains is the task of building a deep and true peace. The peace that brings prosperity. But in the memories of some, the war goes on. Terrible strict measures have been necessary. We have all suffered a great loss. The people and its army. Those of us with determination and courage for the future are ready to let go. We are ready to forgive your disobedience if you are willing to forget our stern response to it. If you learn to behave. If you join us, if you are prepared to forget the past, the wounds may finally begin to heal. Democracy and technology will be brought to bear on your backwardness. Fertilizer plants, animal husbandry, pesticides and libraries. A new land for a new people. And if you let us, we will bring your sorrow and great loneliness to an end.
Act 1, Scene 5. Sophia at the river alone.
What are you bringing me? I am an old woman. I can't be expected to wait much longer.
Fidelia enters running.
They're coming home! They're coming home!
Alexandra enters.
Sophia, where is Alexis? Sophia!
Where's... Oh, I don't know. He was here. He must have gone home.
Oh, Sophia, you were supposed to watch him.
I thought he was supposed to watch her.
Quiet! Alexis!
She exits.
Alexis! Papa's coming home, Grandma. Everyone's excited. They're coming home.
Teresa appears, shucking corn. She's there, but not there.
Fidelia, don't tell lies.
Fidelia stops, looks at her then.
I'm not lying. The new captain, he said the men are coming.
He said, maybe, if we behave.
Katerina appears, mending clothes.
If we behave.
Yanina enters.
But we behave already. All we do is behave.
Sophia doesn't.
Sitting by the river all day.
She doesn't behave.
Take the baby. My arms are tired.
Yanina gives the baby to Fidelia.
Alexis!
You should have come, Sophia. The new captain met with us. He spoke to us. He said...
Forget the past.
Bury the past.
Rosa appears, stirring a pot.
Let go the dead.
He didn't say that.
He never mentioned the dead.
He promised us. Sophia, if we cooperate, he said. Maybe we can't trust him. If you'd been there, you could tell us if you'd seen him.
I saw him.
Listen to her. She lies worse than her
Mind your
granddaughter.
business.
It is my business. He said behave.
He said fertilizer plant. I know what he said.
But you were here the whole time. How did you...
Go home, Yanina. It's almost dusk. Put the nets on the baskets or the grasshoppers will crawl out of the ground and eat the grain.
I did that already.
I helped her, Grandma. We did
You
that.
probably did it wrong. You put the nets on anyhow, and the grasshoppers slip through.
Full of advice. Criticizing everyone. But she hasn't worked in a month. Give yourself some advice, Sophia. At your age.
Sitting there.
Like a river rock.
Stubborn, bitter, a tombstone.
Reproachful.
As if to say that we've forgotten the... That's why you can't brood. You will lose your mind. You will turn to stone.
Alexis!
When they took the land away from us and we had to watch the fences go up and smile, you whispered to me like a promise, Sophia. Life goes on like the earth, no matter what. Now get up.
I can't. I'm carrying the weight of my 4 men. I have a father, husband, 2 sons. Where? Each one is heavy. Each time I think of him, is he hungry? Does he need water? Is he cold? He gets heavier. I am a stone. Where are they? Where are my men? I remember them missing so sharply. I've forgotten everything else. How to bake, or plant, or walk, or even stand. I can't move. I'm waiting here because...
Alexandra enters dragging Alexis.
Grandma? Because?
I'm waiting because I can't bear waiting anymore.
I'm tired. We're going home. Grandma? Leave her on the ground there like an animal. They are watching, and you know it. You call attention to yourself. To all of us.
Alexandra begins to exit with Fidelia. Alexis tries to stay behind to talk with Sophia.
I had to run. Mama told me not to let them...
Alexandra pulls Alexis. They leave with Yanina and Fidelia. Sophia sits alone. All the women disappear except Teresa.
Don't you feel something?
Feel what?
Something is coming.
No.
Something is.
When my husband comes back, he'd better find me tending the fields and feeding the children and selling the crops at the markets. I wait too, but not like this, Sophia. Not like this.
She exits. Sophia puts her hand in the river.
Something is. It's almost here.
Act 1, Scene 6. Cecilia and Emmanuel by the river. He's trying to make love to her.
Not here.
I love this place. Green.
I hate green.
Even before I knew you, this place reminded me of you. I knew someday I'd be here with you.
I used to come here with...
Say who?
Let's go.
Theo. Hey! Theo!
Stop it. He's coming back. Everybody says...
Stupid bitches.
The captain told them. I heard him.
He never said.
All the women, they're getting their beds ready.
Well, then there are going to be a lot of disappointed women in the beds around here. Except for one little sweet woman I know. She's luckier.
He gropes her. She pulls away.
Those witches. They hate me because we're in love. They'll tell Theo.
You're protected.
Grabbing his uniform.
You know what this is?
Grabbing his pistol.
Do you know what this is? What's he got? Your husband. Even if he did come back. He won't, but say he did. You see those trees?
Yes.
I love those trees. Try to touch the fruit on those trees, someone you don't even know will shoot your hand off. Green Castoria land. Protected. When I was a kid, I'd come here. I'd walk 6 hours. I watched the birds.
Did you climb over and steal the fruit?
Not me. I watched for the birds. If they tried to land on the fruit trees, I threw pebbles at them and scared them off. I knew even then I was supposed to protect his property. That was what I was born for. Mr. Castoria didn't even know I was alive, and if I climbed over the fence, they'd have shot me. But I was proud to be protecting what was his. My father used to beat me. He knew where I'd been, and when I got back, he beat the shit out of me.
Poor baby.
Do you know what a war is?
I know what a war is, yes.
You take sides, and if you lose, you're fucked. They stole the land from our people. That's what he said when he beat me with the belt. They drove us into the mountain, he said, and he belts me. Now we have to come and pick their fruit? And he was right to beat me. My father knew I was his enemy. One day I just didn't come back. Mr. Castoria rode out of the gate on a big white horse and asked me if I wanted to work for him. You know what he said?
No?
He said, "You've got to shoot the birds that eat the fruit. That way they won't come back." And he handed me a gun. My father must have waited for me all day with a strap in his hand, watching the horizon. I never went home again.
The captain and the lieutenant, standing atop a hill nearby.
You know what I love about this country, Captain? It's the quality of timelessness. One man is born a peasant over there in the dust, and his son will be, and his son will be, and if you allow it, there's a deep satisfaction, calm that comes from that. And on this side, the green, fertile side, the transfer of property through the generations. My father, his father and his father, the 14 families. For 400 years we have cultivated a loving relationship to the land, gentle and subtle, making it produce for all. There is a deep and inevitable structure in the world, a holy structure, if you will. So it is also inevitable that the people of the dust will always covet the green. If they get ideas, feel encouraged to lay hold of the green, everything, decent and beautiful and civilized, gets covered in dust, as we have seen in the last 8 years.
And you are telling me this?
Back in town with the women yesterday. I don't mean any disrespect, Captain. But that was a very nice speech you made. Democracy, fertilizers.
I'm getting into the habit of making speeches. I'm good at it.
A very nice speech. Of course, not the speech I'd have made if I was captain. But I'm not.
But if you were, you would have spoken of dust.
In a way, I'd have said, congratulations, you're alive. Want to stay that way? Captain, we can't give the impression that we're weak.
Lieutenant, back in Chipote a few years ago, I ordered my battalion to fire on a crowd in the village square. I stood and watched that. When it was dark, I took my flashlight and I searched among the bodies in the square. There was so much blood it seeped into my boots. There was a 9-year-old kid, so young. His arm was, I stood there and watched him die. It took an hour. The boots dried while I watched, and then the flashlight burnt out. Weak men die from nights like that. I am not a weak man, but I am tired. The war is over.
Over? You see down there by that bend in the river? Looks like a fly speck, but it's an old woman.
Old Mrs. Fuentes.
You think it's over for her? Go on, tell her that. Just be sure you're carrying a gun. It's taken us 8 years to restore order, and it's our duty to ensure that we never have to restore order again. So you never have to watch a little boy die like that ever again. So I never have to watch what I have watched.
No order without progress. If you want to keep order, you have to pull them out of their poverty, their dust. We have to move forward.
And you will wind up right back here again. Looking at the green, at the dust, at that old woman. Timelessness. The past awaits you, Captain.
Times are changing, Emmanuel. Maybe we could go see your family. Make it up with your father.
He's a loser. Doesn't matter.
Why not? It matters to me.
They took him. Disappeared like Theo. And he's never coming back.
Act 1, Scene 7. Late at night at the river bend. Sophia, Fidelia, and Alexis.
Here. Where the river thinks of going one way, then goes another. This is where they died.
Who killed them?
Oh, you know this story.
Tell us again, Grandma.
The Spanish. And my great-great-great-grandfather and his wife. She was fierce. The Spanish believed she ate the eyeballs of her enemies.
Did she?
I hope so. I light these candles for their little souls. This water saw them die. The water watches everything. It flows everywhere, and when I am lost or when I've lost something, I know the water will help me find it. You just have to know how to ask it.
She strikes a match, lights first one candle, then another.
Now these little souls will watch over me. And you go home to bed. Go, my babies. If your mother wakes up and finds you missing.
In the surrounding darkness, a lit candle is seen. It appears to float.
Grandma? Is that...
Shh! Who is that? Who's there?
The river grows more audible. Teresa enters.
I can't sleep at nights with you here. All I do is watch
You live miles from here.
from the window by my door. And I heard the floorboards creak, and it was Antonio. I thought it was Antonio. It's the same dream. Every night since you started sitting here, it's my husband, but he won't talk to me. And it's you, Sophia. You're disturbing him. Wherever they've got him. Go home, let me rest.
Katerina enters.
I heard Roberto calling out to me, and I ran out to the door to greet him, and the yard was empty, and I saw these candles. I want to sleep, Sophia, without dreaming. Leave the night alone.
I have dreams too. I can see my hand, and in my hand there's a needle and a thread, and I'm sewing something. I look down to see, and it's a mouth I'm sewing. I'm sewing it shut, and its eyelids I'm sewing, and human ears, all familiar somehow. And there's no blood on the needle, and no blood on the thread, and on my fingers it's... And I've sewed him into a bundle, a tight white bundle. He's calling to me. I can hear him. I fear he may be dead, but oh God, let him be alive.
The sound of the river grows terribly loud. Rosa enters.
What's wrong with the water? What's wrong with the river? Why is it making such a terrible noise? What have you done, Sophia? What are you doing to the water in the river? You're clouding the river. The clouds won't come clean. Leave the river alone.
Grandma, what is it? What's the matter with the river?
There's something in the water. There's something in the water. Get a line. Get a hook.
The children. Get the children away from
Alexis! Fidelia! Get away from the river!
The women begin to wade into the river. The sound of the current grows louder still.
Careful, careful. Don't slip. He...
Grab the sleeve. Grab the...
On the rocks! He's caught on the rocks! Pull! Pull!
Pull, pull.
Oh! Now lift gently.
The women soaking wet pull the body from the river. Immediately the sound of the current softens, grows calm.
Oh, I knew it.
Mary Louise enters. Behind her, the other women.
Oh God, it's not.
It doesn't look like
I
anyone.
knew.
Children, don't look! Sophia, it's not. It hasn't got a face.
Adelia, go and get the priest and bring a shovel.
Who is it, Grandma?
It's my father.
It's not your... It isn't, Sophia.
It is.
You can't bury that.
Not here. He has a place by my mother in the cemetery on the hill.
You need permission.
Not for this.
The captain said behave.
For God's sake, Sophia, you know you need permission. We can't make trouble now. They have our men.
Grandma, if my papa...
No trouble. Yes. Permission. It is my father.
She starts to leave.
Wait, I'll go with you.
Aren't you afraid?
No.
You should be. Come.
You can't take the boy. Are you out of your...
Grandma, Mama will be angry if you...
This is how it should be. His father would accompany me, Emiliano, if he was here. This is how the Fuentes bury their dead.
The Fuentes should protect their children.
No one can protect him anymore. No one touches this body. You understand?
Yes, Grandma.
Alexis, come. Nothing to fear. This captain is different, right?
You'd better hope so.
You hope. I'm going to bury my father.
They exit. The remaining women watch the body. Janina enters.
I woke up. I couldn't sleep.
She sees the body.
Oh God. Oh.
Act 1, Scene 8. The light on the narrator and the empty chair comes on.
Exile is like death. Amongst the Guarani Indians of Paraguay, when someone is banished from the community, they say he has died. And when he returns, if he returns, that is, they say he has come back from the dead. They celebrate the return of the exile as if he has been resurrected. If he is resurrected. If he hasn't faded from people's lives, from the eyes of his son, from the lips of his daughter. People speak of him in hushed voices, in the past tense, if they speak of him at all. But that's not what I wanted to tell you. I wanted to tell you that today I met a woman publisher from my country. She was passing through this foreign city where I now live, passing on her way back from a book fair or something. We had been lovers. Maybe that had been 10 years ago, and she was as ravishing as ever. Over lunch, she asked me what I was doing. I told her I was thinking about a story. I didn't tell her that I was haunted by it, that I couldn't get it out of my head, that it was like a mother rescuing me from madness. I just told her what it was about, and added, about when dessert was served, that maybe she could help me get the story to our country. Publish it under a pseudonym, I said. I could tell that she thought I was crazy. I could see it in her eyes. I saw what she saw. Her books being burnt, the soldiers breaking down the door, her interrogation. I saw it deep inside her. The fear for her own children. But what if I made things easy for you? What if I disguised the story, set it in Greece, say under the Nazi occupation, or in Nigeria, or Guatemala, or Iraq? You pick the country, I said to her. We'll set it there, and then we'll make up a foreign author. We'll attribute the story to him, or her, or... Nobody will know that this was thought up by somebody like me. Nobody will know that it refers to our country. If she hadn't said yes immediately, that she would do it, I might have some hope now. But I know when a woman is lying. She said yes too quickly. A way of getting rid of me. Oh, I'll send it to her when it's done. When I figured out how all this ends. I'll write it under a false name. I'll set it in East Timor or South Africa or Romania. Anywhere else that she wants. It won't be any use. Bitch didn't even invite me back to her hotel room. For her, it's as if I had already died.
Act 1, Scene 9. Very early dawn. The doctor stands near the river smoking. The women in a group near the body. The lieutenant enters with soldiers.
Full of surprises, this river. I don't suppose anybody's moved the body, right? Yes or no?
The women shake their heads now.
Which one of you found it?
The women make an inclusive gesture. They all found it.
He's dead, no doubt about it.
I was hoping you could provide us with more specific information, Doctor.
The doctor gestures to a soldier, indicates how he wants the body turned. The soldier turns the corpse over.
You found the body? Answer, did you find it?
Yes, sir. Along with the others, sir.
Recognize it?
Teresa doesn't answer. She looks at the body. The lieutenant turns to Amanda.
Did you look at his face?
Amanda shakes her head, backs away.
Asked a question. Jesus Christ, are you people born deaf? Take their pants off.
Oh, this is only a preliminary.
It'll help to identify him.
We didn't want to.
You didn't want to see his face?
No, sir.
Take off the goddamn pants!
The soldiers take off the corpse pants.
So?
Burns, contusions, broken bones, a disaster. It looks to me he was given a good beating before they dumped him in. He was hungry too. Look at those ribs.
I think the river is responsible.
For the bends.
I don't see burns. Look closer.
I already told you what I think, but if you think differently...
Any clues about the subject's identity, age?
I can't tell the age. He seems to have been away from the sun months, years, perhaps. A peasant. Look at those hands. Of course, they are broken now. The river, I suppose.
And in the pockets?
Nothing.
You women, I want you to pass by this body one by one. Take a good look at the face. A formal identification process. Everything nice and proper for the new citizens of the new land.
The women do this, except Fidelia.
It could be my brother, sir. They took him away 4 years ago.
Your brother, are you sure?
How could I be sure? How could I want this to be my brother?
I wouldn't want it to be mine. Good. The people have spoken. Or rather not spoken.
He gestures to soldiers to cart the body away. When they move towards it, Fidelia goes right to the body.
Well, well. Reinforcements.
It's my great-grandfather.
The lieutenant looks at her in a frankly sexual way for a long time.
Ignore her, sir. She's a little strange.
Your great-grandfather. Oh my. And what's your pretty little name?
Fidelia Fuentes.
Emiliano's daughter?
Yes. This is my great-grandfather, Carlos Mendez.
And you identified him just like that girl, from a distance.
My grandma, Sophia, identified him, sir.
Strange she's not here. We didn't think your grandma could move. We thought she was screwed to the spot. And where might she be now? Would you happen to know that?
Before answering, Fidelia moves hesitantly to the corpse, sits beside it, and takes one of its hands in hers.
She went to the captain, sir, to ask permission to bury her father.
She's wasting her time. Get away from that body.
Fidelia doesn't move.
Don't fuck with me, girl.
The lieutenant and the soldiers watch Fidelia, who doesn't respond, doesn't move. The women stand at a distance, but not too far.
Leave her be, sir. I told you she's strange.
Fidelia, come!
You're the wife of Alonso, right? I'm good at remembering people's names.
Fidelia!
My grandma never wastes time, sir. She doesn't believe in that.
The lieutenant goes to Fidelia, grabs her by the shoulders, picks her up with great strength but complete control, and moves her away from the body. He kisses her violently, lets her go. Then he motions to the soldiers. They pick up the body, carry it out.
I need a drink.
There's the river. Don't fall in.
He exits. The women remain immobile. Act 1, Scene 10. The captain's office. The captain, Emmanuel, Sophia, and Alexis.
You're sure about this?
Yes.
This jawed man is your father. You're sure?
Yes.
Why would an old man like that have gotten mixed up with politics?
He didn't.
Well, you said he was arrested. For what?
Oh, for nothing.
Mrs. Fuentes, people don't get arrested for nothing. They... Emmanuel? Did you know this man, Mendez?
Yes, sir.
Well?
Emmanuel's very uncomfortable under Sophia's stare.
Orderly?
Mendez, her father, went around to houses and churches and places where the men would drink and talked about the land. Mr. Castoria's land. He was angry when we moved them off the land. Fuentes, her husband also, first and mostly her father. The files say he's no longer in custody.
But perhaps you're confused.
No.
Perhaps your father ran away.
No.
Or he might have had an accident. Or, well, sometimes men run away
He
for...
could barely walk.
Women make men do strange things.
He was 80 years old.
Or sometimes terrorists have business to settle amongst themselves.
No, he wasn't a violent man. He wasn't...
Well, he must have been doing something. Stop interrupting me!
He reaches in his desk, takes out a sheet of paper.
This is the new amnesty decree. Do you know what amnesty is? amnesty. If your father or your husband
Or my son.
or whoever has been in trouble with the government, now they can surrender without inconvenience. So maybe they'll come back to you from wherever they're hiding. What would your father think if he came back and found you burying him?
She picks up the paper, examines it like a strange object, turning it over and over, and then putting it back carefully on his desk.
I've come for permission to bury my father.
Yes. We've established that. We know that. You said that already. Now, have you heard a single word that...
He came to me from the land of the dead, his body, because he wanted me to bury him, where all the dead of our family are buried, in the cemetery on the hill. He came back to me, his daughter, for that. Give me permission.
There is a knock on the door. The lieutenant enters.
I'd like to speak to you for a moment, sir, if I could.
Of course, Lieutenant, you know Mrs. Fuentes, and this is her grandson,
Alexis.
Right, Alexis. Mrs. Fuentes, I am a reasonable man. Pending the results of an official inquest, this body, if it can be established that it is really your father...
Carlos Mendez.
If it is Carlos Mendez, then you will naturally be allowed to bury him. The army is the servant of the people.
I'll wait.
It may take some...
I'll wait.
Sophia takes Alexis by the hand and exits. The captain snaps his fingers at Emmanuel, who follows them out.
She never blinks. Crazy old bitch. Makes me nervous. After the inquest...
Inquest?
Give her the body. Quickest way to get rid of her.
You're joking. Inquest? Give her the... You're joking.
I don't think I am.
And what do we do after the funeral?
After the
When she wants to know who killed him. No evidence.
What do you mean, no?
No evidence.
Where's the body, Lieutenant?
The lieutenant picks up a pinch of ash from the ashtray, blows it into the air.
Gone.
You...
Burned it. Sorry.
You burned the... How dare you? How fucking dare you? I gave you orders to bring that corpse back too. You burned it? That is a flagrant violation of my orders, of proper military procedure.
What are you talking about? Excuse me, sir, but what proper military... Listen to yourself. Somewhere right now, somewhere else in this country, maybe your last command, someone is burning a piece of paper, erasing a signature, burning a body to cover your ass. And you cover mine. That's how the army's going to survive in your new democratic paradise. I cover you, you cover me.
You killed him. Her father, you killed...
I arrested him.
And you
Let
killed...
him go the next day. What happened to him after that is... Well, it's not for us to say.
Mother of God. You burned the... What do I tell her? That old bitch out there with that stupid kid, for Christ's sake. What do I say to her?
Say there's no body. Say there never was a body. Say fuck off, you old bitch.
The captain goes to the office door, opens it, sees the old lady sitting outside, and closes the door.
She's waiting out there.
Don't tell her anything.
Well, I can't just let her wait. She'll wait forever.
Not forever. She's an old woman. You'll probably outlive her.
End of Act 1. Act 2, Scene 11. Alexandra and Yanina are pounding grain. Fidelia is pouring it into sacks.
Pour it slower. You will spill half on the ground.
I'm not spilling anything.
Don't talk back to me.
You're spilling, Alexandra. You're pounding too hard. Half of it's coming over the side.
I can't believe she took Alexis. I can't believe she left you to guard that thing. I can't believe you touched it. You're so damp. It's unclean. Did you wash your hands? Did you wash your mouth?
You asked me already. I said I did. Stop yelling
I
at
can
me.
smell it. I don't think you washed enough. You get that death in the grain.
You will wake the baby. Please stop.
Sophia and Alexis enter. Alexandra immediately stops talking and begins pounding even harder. Alexis heads for the house.
You, stay.
Pounding.
You're pounding too hard.
Alexandra pounds even harder.
You crack the bowl. Stop pounding.
Don't talk to me.
That bowl you're breaking is my bowl, and I won't
Nothing here is yours. It's yours if you work it. And you haven't done any work in a month. And now it isn't yours anymore. It's mine. My bowl, my house, my goat, and chickens, and grain, and my children. And you just go back to the river and leave me and what's mine. All the things you don't care for anymore.
There were 4 goats when I left a month ago, and now there are only 3. How much did you get for Cholito?
You know what I can't forgive? It's not disgracing your father's name by giving it to a rotting corpse. It's not being a crazy old woman who can't help herself because you're a crazy old woman. And crazy old women can't help the way they are. What I cannot forgive, ever, is that you...
I asked you a question.
What?
How much did you get for the goat?
You put my daughter and my son in danger. I thought the one thing I could depend on was that you cared about my children, your grandchildren, that you would protect them. You care about nothing but death.
No, Mama, that's not true.
Fidelia, what did I tell you when I left you at the river?
Grandma.
I entrusted you with the body of my father, and you let those godless men take my father's body and they burned it like trash. And you let them do that.
Don't talk to my daughter like that.
She should have died before she let them take his body away. Forgive. I don't forgive any of you for that. You have no Mendes blood in your veins, no Fuentes blood. You don't understand. But you, I thought you were Emiliano's daughter, but you understand nothing, none of you. I come back and you're going to market my father's body. He built this house, black smoke and ash, and you're going to market. You sell the living, you sell the dead. Nothing's horrible enough to stop your selling and your pounding. Any of you in this whole valley, you bitches, you whores, you sell the lives and the memories of your men. You should all be down like stones by the river. You should all be tearing your clothes by the river. The sun and the moon and the wind should stop till you bury the dead. I will. I'll find where they burned the corpse of my father, and I'll gather his ashes and the earth where they scorched, and I'll carry it to his grave on the hill. You'll see that I will. Every ash, every splinter, you'll see that I will. And then maybe you'll stop. And then maybe you'll see. This was my father. And where is Miguel? And this was my father. And where is Emiliano? Tell me. Where's your husband? And this was my father. And where is Alonso? Yanina? Tell me. Alonso, Antonio, where's Theo? Where's Luis? Where's Raul? Pablo?
Get the baby. Close up the room. Don't listen. Just get the second cut. You crazy old witch. You give the names. You go to them and you tell them names. Sweaters, names. You give them our names. You call them. You call attention. You kill them all. You kill them all. Don't you understand, you old woman? They have got our man. My husband is not dead. Emiliano is not dead. No.
Fidelia is picking up the sack during this. The scene gives and the grain spills all over the stage. There is total silence. everything stops. Everyone looks at the spilled grain. Alexandra and then the others, including the women from the valley, go down on their hands and knees and start gathering the grain, every kernel. They work in silence. Sophia watches them and then joins in. One of the women begins to sob. No one acknowledges this, and even the sobbing woman doesn't pause in her work. But Sophia stands slowly, painfully. She lets the handful of grain she's gathered fall to the ground. She walks to the sobbing woman, puts her hand on her head. The woman's crying softens. Sophia leaves. The women work. We hear the sound of the river, building in volume, becoming menacing. Act 2, Scene 12. It is dark night. We hear the sound of the river louder now than ever. We see a figure in the darkness, struggling with something. The figure drags a heavy burden from the river and then sits heavily, clutching it tightly to her. There is a pause, the sound of the river and the night. Then someone else enters. A match is struck. Fidelia is standing, holding the match and the candle. She lights the candle, approaches the figure on the ground. In the candlelight we see Sophia sitting, wet, holding a different body. Fidelia kneels beside her. She blows out the candle. They sit in the dark. Act 2, Scene 13. Headlights of a jeep sweeping first the auditorium and then the stage as though the vehicle was rounding a hill and coming to a stop. The headlights catch Sophia clutching the body. Fidelia stands, backs away.
There! There! Who the fuck is... Go around the other side! That side! Come on the right! Go! Nobody move! Nobody move! Get away from that!
Alexandra enters from the other side.
Fidelia, come here! Come here quickly! Sophia!
A second set of headlights pulls in from the opposite direction. Tires on gravel coming to a halt. The captain enters. Behind him, Emmanuel.
What's going on here? What is...
Get away from that, you old cunt!
What's she got? Mrs. Fuentes, what are you... Oh my God.
I said get away from that, you disgusting old cunt!
He takes his gun out of his holster.
Lieutenant, put that away.
The lieutenant doesn't seem to hear the captain. He cocks the gun. Alexandra steps in between the lieutenant and Sophia. The other women enter, standing at a distance, watching.
Don't shoot her! Don't!
She's an old woman. They are witnesses. Don't shoot her.
Lieutenant, put the gun down and get back in the jeep.
The captain pushes Alexandra aside and stands between the lieutenant and the old woman.
I am giving you an order. Get back in the jeep.
The lieutenant hesitates, lowers his gun, turns and leaves.
Go home. There's nothing here. Go home.
No one moves. He turns to the old woman.
Mrs. Fuentes, get away from the body. Where did you find it in the... Mrs. Fuentes, will you put that down so we can take a look and see if...
Alexandra.
What, Sophia?
Miguel.
What did she...
She said she thinks it's her husband. She thinks...
Miguel.
Listen, we'll take the body...
No!
I will personally take responsibility for this body. There will be an official... We're as concerned about this as...
You listen to me. You will have to kill me. Do you understand? You will have to kill me first.
I understand. Do you want help?
No help.
We'll carry him. Sophia, come.
The other women approach. Together they all pick up the body, heavy with river water. They carry it past the soldiers and out.
2 fucking bodies. 2! Someone is setting me up. Tell the lieutenant to get his butt over here. Now!
Emmanuel exits.
Stinko. Fucking Stinko. Plug the goddamn river up. Make a lake with a concrete bottom. Clean. Paddle boats on Sundays. That's better. That's it.
The lieutenant enters, Emmanuel behind. The lieutenant and the captain glare at each other. The captain makes Emmanuel leave.
Where do you think these bodies are coming from?
Where do you think they're coming from?
I asked you first.
I'm your superior.
Then you must be smarter than me.
I am.
Then answer my question, sir.
I think someone wants to make trouble for me.
I think someone wants to make trouble for me.
Who? Why would anyone want to do that? You're such a charming young man.
But some people, I think, are immune to my charms. The communists, the terrorists, the subversives, that old woman. She's doing it. They're tossing these bodies in, using you to get rid of people like me. People who are effective. If Fuentes is buried, then she'll ask who killed him. And then they'll ask who arrested him. And then they'll trace a trail back to me.
Paranoid bullshit. You're doing it. You and your effective friends. You throw the bodies in the river so she can find them, and she gets wild, and I'm expected to abandon my program and start shooting.
Oh,
from-
shooting! You're so delicate, Captain. This reform, this delicacy, it will end up with me on trial, and you on trial too, for what you did somewhere else. Can't you see that?
There will be no trials. Trials come when bodies float downstream. So in case you happen to know who's throwing them
I
in,
don't know.
tell
who.
them to be smart. Ask themselves what their best interests really are, because at this moment, it is in my best interest to point my guns not at these women, but at anyone I see getting in my way.
I thank you for your friendly middle-class advice. And here's some for you. Everything we do here is being watched by important people, the true defenders of the motherland. So if the funeral happens, an hour later you'll get a phone call announcing your demotion. And a day or two later you'll find yourself back in the capital where the streets are crowded and cars speed by. And one speeding past you some morning has a man inside with a gun and a bullet.
Save your threats, you son of
And
a...
back here in the valley of hell, the guns will be pointed at our enemies again. You betrayed me. You sided with that crow. All of those women saw that.
Lieutenant...
I mean it, Captain. Don't let her bury that body.
The lieutenant nods, leaves. On another side of the stage, the Fuentes family enters with the body, silently washes it and prepares it for burial.
Damn! You were listening the whole time. Emmanuel,
Emmanuel appears.
my little shadow. I wish you wouldn't do that. I think I may have gone too far.
The lieutenant seemed upset.
How observant.
May I make a suggestion, Captain?
Oh, please, do. You're so thoroughly informed after all.
You didn't know Miguel Fuentes. Maybe you made a mistake.
A mistake.
If someone else claimed the body, a competing claim, maybe it was someone else's husband. Someone whose husband died accidentally. There are men missing that the lieutenant did not arrest, whose funerals wouldn't worry the lieutenant.
Got anyone in mind?
Theo Sanginas.
Someone you...
I know his wife, Cecilia Sanginas. My girlfriend. Now she is.
Aquita was right. You're a credit to your kind. You eavesdrop on my conversations. You probably open my mail. Whose ears are you? Who do you listen for? Castoria?
With your permission, Captain, but I want to leave this place. So does Cecilia, and Philip Castoria doesn't think that's such a great idea.
Does Castoria know about the bodies?
Mr. Castoria used to say, "Not a leaf falls on my land without me knowing of it."
The Castorias must be close to the lieutenant. The families.
They are luncheon, sir. The lieutenant is invited.
Aha. If you happen to find yourself upriver again, it would be in your interest to give Mr. Castoria the impression that I am in control. Because, orderly, if I succeed here, I will be very grateful to those who helped me. Now, I think our cooperative widow
Mrs. Sanginas?
should be informed that her husband has drowned. A most unpleasant task. I'm sure you'll find a way of comforting her.
Yes, sir. And what about the old woman, sir?
The captain sits at the riverbank in Sophia's spot.
If I sit like her, will a body come to me? Where? Where are these bodies coming from? That old woman's grandson. How old?
13, 14, I'm not...
A little detour through the shit. To the future, God willing.
Act 2, Scene 14. Cecilia and Emmanuel.
You want him back?
I want you.
Then bury him.
But that's not him.
No. It is if you say so.
No, it's someone else. Theo will come back.
Bury him and he won't.
I wish it was that simple.
It is. Listen to me. Bury him and he'll never come back. You do this with the captain and the captain will make sure Theo never shows up again.
I can't do that.
Choose. Him or me.
Cecilia kisses Emmanuel.
Promise me, when we get to the city, we'll have thousands of children.
Millions. Not thousands. Millions.
And every one of them with your eyes.
Act 2, Scene 15. The Fuentes family gathered in a room around the body, washed and dressed, now and laid out on a rough bier. Red sunrise. Candles.
When I was just a girl, my sisters and I went to town, dressed in bright dresses our grandma made, for the festival of the planting. You could see the torches in the square from afar off, all the way up the mountain, and we rode down in a cart. Oh, it was so late when we got to the square, and my sisters, may they rest in peace, they vanished right away into the crowd, all those tall farmers. And there was music. Then I felt his hands on my shoulders behind me. He said, "Don't turn around." And he took my red scarf and covered my eyes and tied it behind me. So all I could see when I opened my eyes was bright red. And then he led me blind to the dance.
Then what?
Oh, I've told you so often what happened next. We danced. I couldn't see him. I felt him. He was only a boy, but I was only a girl. And the band started playing something. A song with a strange rhythm I didn't know. And I said to him, "Take off this scarf, you idiot. I can't see and I don't know how to do this dance." And he said, "Leave it on. I'll teach you." And I said, "Why should you see when I can't?" And he said he couldn't see either. His eyes were closed. Oh. And I thought that was funny, so I let him dance with me, even though I thought he was probably crazy. Miguel. And after the dance was over, he took off the scarf and looked at me and said, "Oh, you're beautiful."
Were you?
No, I was ugly, but that's what he said. I could always recognize him from that night on, even with my eyes closed, even blind in the dark. I could always recognize my Miguel.
Act 2, Scene 16. Father Gabriel and the captain.
I am troubled. You've heard about the body in the river. It can't be properly identified, but a widow claims it as the body of a man. So I've taken a risk. It seemed, well...
Compassionate?
Yes, to let her have the body to bury. Have I sinned in allowing her this funeral, even though I have my doubts that the corpse is hers?
I've asked myself the same question, Captain.
Yes.
After all, I have to perform the rites, and
Since you aren't certain,
I've seen the body. I've serious doubts.
but
These are troubled times. These women need an end to the uncertainty. the not knowing is intolerable. Its particular form of hell. If a burial can bring peace, then in the name of a greater good, I'll perform the funeral.
And trust that the Heavenly Father will forgive.
Since we act in the name of peace, yes.
I can't tell you how much this relieves me, Father.
And it will relieve the torment of Sophia Fuentes.
Sophia Fuentes? Ah, then you haven't heard. That was a mistake. Mrs. Fuentes was mistaken. The body has been claimed by Cecilia Sanguines.
Cecilia?
Her husband, Theo Sanguines, missing for 7 months. Apparently a heavy drinker. He used to beat his wife. A lot of these men did. Odd that she hasn't contacted you about the service. No doubt she is still in shock.
Captain, I can't. You gave that body to Sophia Fuentes.
But you said yourself it didn't look like
It was unrecognizable. Why is one woman's claim better than the other?
In this affair, I had to play Solomon. I can't cut the corpse in two, can I? So the widow whose claim seems more probable gets the body.
I won't do it. I can't. Miguel Fuentes was my friend. He sat in the chair you are sitting in. Many nights you...
Then you'll want to help his family.
They won't consider it a help.
But they will. You see, in exchange for your pastoral assistance in the funeral of Theo Sanguines, and in exchange for the good-natured cooperation of the Fuentes family, I would be prepared to release a prisoner, a relative of theirs.
Emiliano Alonso?
I think his name is Alexis.
No. Alexis is the boy.
Yes, him.
He isn't.
We arrested him this afternoon.
Please don't hurt the boy.
I will tell Mrs. Sanguines to expect your call. Be careful with her. She's very upset. Hurt the boy? I know what you think of me, Father.
I don't think you do.
I can imagine. Don't judge me. It sickens me. I hate pain, terror, but at times I am forced to. We have to follow our hearts to the greater good. There are forces at work here who intend nothing good for this country. I intend peace. I want that as much as you. But sometimes the road to peace is, as you know, fraught with difficult choices. You shouldn't judge me too hastily.
I don't, Captain. The dead will judge the dead.
The captain kneels.
Bless me, Father, for I have sinned.
Lights go down on Captain and Father Gabriel. Only a light on the chair where the captain sat remains. From the shadows, the narrator emerges, goes to the chair. Act 2, Scene 17.
As for me, I am not so different from the interpreters and their glass booths at endless international conferences on torture. Not so different from them with their monochrome voices, their dictionaries, their notes, their culture, their going back home in Geneva, in New York, in The Hague. An intermediary, not even a bridge. Simultaneous translation for good pay. A specialist in language rather than suffering. They listen, they jot down, they find the right adjective. Like them, I must watch from afar what I cannot remedy. Like them, I cannot speak to those whom I translate. I cannot give them advice. I cannot even tell those I am hearing to watch out. And like the interpreters, I am not in danger. It is true that if I stayed in my country, it would be my words that someone far away would be struggling to put into a perfect foreign language, struggling to bury in another language. And now that the years of exile pass and pass, now that I cannot remember the colour of the eyes of my children, I am becoming more and more like the interpreters. With this difference, Unlike them, I cannot switch off the voices. Unlike them, I am haunted by those voices. And unlike them, I cannot stop listening.
The lights change, diminishing but not disappearing on the narrator, remaining very strongly on the chair in the darkness. Another, stranger light comes up on Fidelia. She looks towards the chair.
Are you in pain? Are you in pain? Can I do something to help you? Are you in pain?
Yes, he's in pain. Yes, Fidelia, he is.
The lights begin to fade on the empty chair and rise on the chair next to it. Seated in this chair is a naked man, breathing heavily with a black cloth hood over his head. He hardly moves. It is difficult to tell from his body how old he is, but he's very thin.
What can I do for him? How can I help him? Can I go to where he is?
No, Fidelia, you can't do that. The door is locked. It's too far.
Can I give him water? Is he thirsty? Medicine? Is he hurt? What can I...
Talk to
Talk to
him.
him, girl. He can hear you. Talk to him. Tell him a story.
Story? Story? I don't... What kind of story? A story about what?
About this, Fidelia. The story of what happened.
Not that. That will hurt him. I don't want to tell him that. I can't. I can't.
The truth, Fidelia. The story of what happened.
I don't know how. I saw a bird. A dead bird on its back. Its throat was pulled back like this. Its beak was open. It was trying to fly. No, it was trying to drink. It was drinking in light. It was trying to do that. No, that's not. The door. They kicked in the door. They splintered the door. Mama screamed. She screamed about the bird. No, she screamed something. It was, "Take me," she said. I think she, but they knew he was down in the corn. He was hid in the corn, but they knew. Who told them? And she screamed, but they went through the fields like fire so fast. And they trampled the corn and they picked him like a plant. They tore up the roots, they picked him out from the corn, and she kept on screaming, but making no sounds. And where was I? When they took where was I standing? I was standing by Mama. No, I was not. I was out in the corn. I was up in the air. I was flying above it, and no, I was dead. I was lying on my back trying to drink in the light, but I don't know how to tell you the story, Papa. I don't know what story I'm trying to tell. Papa, are you there? They took him, Papa. They took Alexis away.
Act 2, Scene 18. The cemetery on the hill. Generations upon generations of plain peasant graves. Cecilia, Emmanuel, the captain and the lieutenant, by a freshly dug grave. They are waiting for the Fuentes family to deliver the body. Father Gabriel stands apart. No one says anything. Alexandra, Yanina and Sophia arrive with the corpse.
Where's my son?
Lieutenant, the boy.
The lieutenant exits.
I assume you know Mrs. Sanguines. Mrs. Sanguines, you know...
Alexandra, I'm sorry. Theo will kill you.
Alexandra turns her back on Cecilia.
Ladies, please.
The lieutenant re-enters with Alexis. The boy is unsteady on his feet. His shirt has been torn and hastily repatched. He looks at the ground and keeps one eye closed. From the other side of the stage, Fidelia stands apart and appears with the baby. She watches the scene from afar.
Good. Good. Now we can...
Alexandra walks to the lieutenant and Alexis. She takes Alexis by his arm. He cries out, pulls away. Alexandra turns to the captain.
What did you do
He's
to him?
alive. Be thankful. Next time, save us the trouble. Captain, your prisoner.
The lieutenant exits.
Suspected subversives will be interrogated according to official procedures. Don't misunderstand me. I am as committed as ever to peace, but I cannot permit subversion of my authority. Mrs. Fuentes, thank you for returning the body of Mr. Sanginis. We apologize for the grotesque mistake. Now take your grandson and go home. Mrs. Fuentes. Mrs. Fuentes.
He goes to Alexis, grabs his arm.
Woman, you haven't begun to see the trouble I can cause.
Sophia.
Sophia strengthens her grip on the body. No one moves. Then she lets go, turns, goes to her grandson, puts an arm gingerly around him and leads him away from the captain. The captain signals to the two soldiers. They move to the cart. They pick up the corpse and carry it to the grave. They place it in the pit.
Mrs. Sanginis.
Emmanuel nudges Cecilia, who stumbles a little and then walks quickly to the grave. Not looking in, she pitches a flower at the corpse and turns and almost exits. Emmanuel stops her.
Father?
Father in heaven, here is one of your children. We gather
Name.
Theo Sanginis. Father, show mercy for my friend Theo Sanginis, wherever his soul may be. Ashes to ashes, earth to earth, dust you were, and dust you are, and to dust you shall return. Amen.
Thank you. Mrs. Sanginis, my condolences.
Cecilia exits quickly. Emmanuel follows her.
The army will reimburse you for the cost of the shroud. Good day.
The captain exits. The two soldiers hastily fill in the grave.
Sophia, God works in strange ways. Maybe this is a sign that Miguel is alive. You should never give up hope. Please forgive me, all of you.
He exits. The soldiers hammer a flimsy wooden cross into the earth at the head of the grave and exit.
Sophia. Thank you.
Miguel is so ashamed of me.
She exits. Alexis. Alexandra goes to Alexis. She leads him off, followed by Yanina. Fidelia stays behind, always at a distance from the tombs, as if she inhabited a separate dimension. She speaks to the child.
Say something. Say Ma. Every baby your age can say Ma. Maybe he won't ever say anything. Maybe he'll just be quiet and never tell a story to anybody until the day he dies.
She exits with the baby. Act 2, Scene 19. We watch nightfall on the graveyard, and then fade as the dawn light grows and fields. The graveyard, the next morning, a beautiful day. Sophia enters, hair unplaited and wild. She's carrying bread, which she places on Theo's grave. She looks at the mound. She takes clumps of the earth in her hands and examines them. She holds it to her face and inhales deeply. Then she rubs some of it across her chest, sensually, between her legs, and then crumbles the remaining earth to the ground. She picks up the loaf of bread, tears it in half, and puts one half back on the ground. She's biting into her half when the first woman enters. She too is carrying bread. Other women arrive. Each, one at a time, tears her loaf in half and leaves it on Theo's grave, till soon the grave is a mound of freshly baked loaves. Yanina goes to sit by Sophia at the grave. Alexandra has come too, but sits apart. The women sit around it, eating.
I knew when I saw the first body come out of the river. The minute I laid hands on him, I knew it was my brother. I should have insisted. I was afraid.
It wasn't your brother. It was my nephew. I recognized him. I was too afraid to speak. When you said to the lieutenant that you thought you recognized your brother, I thought to myself, she's crazy. She's wrong. But at least she has the courage to speak.
The first body, well, I can't be absolutely certain, but the hands, even broken, I think it was Louisa's oldest son. I'm absolutely sure that the second body, though, was...
That was my husband. No doubt about that.
My father.
My father. I begged all night This is my father in this grave. I baked bread for his grave.
This is very confusing.
Everybody baked all night. The whole valley smelled of yeast rising.
So does everyone think?
Maybe it isn't anyone's. Maybe everyone's wrong. Maybe everyone's right.
Impossible. It can't belong to all of us. It's only one body.
Yes, and it's my son, Eduardo.
It's Antonio, my husband. He was that thin.
It's my father.
No, mine. Ernesto Torres. I'd stake my life on it.
It didn't look a thing like your father. He wasn't nearly so tall. It was
Caesar, that pig. He beat me. I hated him. I was going to leave that bastard, but then they took him away. As long as I didn't know if he was alive or dead, I was stuck with him forever. Now I can...
You can what?
Dig up the little shit, bury him proper, and then dance on his grave.
But it's only one body, and everyone wants to bury it. What are we going to do about that?
You know what to do. You told me how to do it. Get permission. Then bury your men.
But it's just this one thing.
That's not our problem. You identify, then you must bury. Ask permission. Let the captain figure it out.
The women start to stand. The cry of a bird overhead. Then the lights begin to change. There's the sound of the river and a sense of rushing water and something magical.
the water knows. The water has been there. The water is curious. It wants to find out. It will flood in your ears, in your eyes, in your mouth. It will carry out the words from the deepest places, the memories, the pain. It will carry your stories over miles of river, calling the stories as it moves to the sea.
It will sing to the valleys with a stony voice. The water the throat drinks, the rain that he sees, the mud that he walks in, the soup that they eat, the sweat that falls, and the other water. And some rivers are wide and calm and green and smooth, and some are sharp and high. They fall clear from the mountains, and ours is a river that is shallow, cold and brown.
And it brings us our men over miles of stone beds. It tumbles them home, but there are so many men who are missing or dead. So many the river cannot carry them all. Too many stories for the river to tell. Too many stories, so it brought us back one. And the godless, they burnt it. And it brought us another to bury on the hill. And it tumbled the body.
Over and over, till all of its features were murmured away. Because if the river carried all the men home, their bodies would damn it. They would strangle the river, and the valley would flood, and the field turn to swamp, where nothing can grow and everything rots. And it found us this body, and it made it anybody, and it made it everybody. And it's mine, it's mine. Oh, please don't let it be mine. It's mine. Oh, please don't let it be mine. It's mine. Oh, please. Oh, please. Oh, please.
Oh, please.
It's mine.
It's mine.
It's mine.
End of Act 2. Act 3, Scene 20. The captain and the manual. The widows queued up. Teresa Salas in a chair.
36 widows. What the fuck am I supposed to do with 36 widows? Widows, mothers, aunts, grandmas. The only woman in the whole miserable fucking valley who isn't demanding that corpse is the one woman we gave it to. Where the fuck is she, orderly?
I can't find her, Captain. I don't know.
You seem to know a whole fuck of a lot of less than I thought you did. This whole mess. Well, I'd say it was all your fault if you were important enough to matter. But you don't. Just my little peasant orderly who tries too hard to be helpful, and I let myself forget. No progress without order. But now, I'm taking control. Your girlfriend's the official widow in this hideous mess, and if you want me to transfer you out of here, you'd better find her.
Emmanuel salutes and exits.
Someone set me up. Someone's making a joke of me. The press will hear about this, and then We don't do well in sports or beauty contests. Finally, we have a record to be proud of. More widows per corpse than any other country in the world.
My name is Teresa Salas. I'm 53 years old. My husband, Antonio Salas, he would have been 59 years old last March. He was mayor of Camacho. He was elected when we last had elections. When we stopped having elections, he was arrested for trying to reclaim the land and taken away on February 20th, 8 years ago. And I never saw him again until 2 days ago when his body washed up in the river. And now I want to bury him in the cemetery by his parents' graves.
The captain flips through a stack of claims.
Husband, brother, husband, father, son, nephew, son, lover, husband, uncle, husband. So which woman's claim is... I mean, it can't all belong to you. It's only one body.
My husband's.
So the other women are wrong. Right? One of you is right and the other 36 have to be mistaken, right?
It's not my job to explain. I know what I know. They know what they know. I know it is my husband.
You don't know. That's the point. None of you knows anything. You're all mentally underdeveloped, emotionally overdeveloped, superstitious, mindless peasants. And this preposterous little scandal you've cooked up, you have no idea the trouble this is causing. You have no idea what you're spoiling here with this demented, backwards...
Teresa pulls a locket from her blouse.
Backwards? Is it backwards to want to bury your dead? Do you want your wife to do the same for you? This is my husband, who I lived with for 32 years. No, don't look away.
She tears the locket from her neck, slams it on the desk.
This is my husband. I slept with every night for 32 years. What do you mean, how do I know? What do you mean, backwards? I know.
Enough, Mrs. Salas.
They shot my 16-year-old son in the back of his head. I saw that. They did that.
I said that's enough.
If this is not my husband, then where is he? If this is not his body, then give him to me alive. If you won't do that, then let me bury him.
You want to bury this body that you say is your husband. But what if your husband walked through that door now? What if I clap my hands like this and he walked through the door?
The door begins to open. Teresa spins around towards it. The lieutenant enters. Teresa stares at him, then looks away.
What would you do if your husband came through that door?
I would thank you, Captain. If he came back alive, what else could I do?
Yes. That is all, Mrs. Salas? I said that is all. Tell the next widow I'm going to lunch.
She exits.
I didn't call for you.
I wanted to gloat.
Gloat somewhere else, I'm busy. There's 17 other...
This is more fun than a circus. The captain and his amazing multiplying widows. What's your next trick?
Surprise.
Take control here. That'd surprise everyone.
I'll tell you a story. My father had a dog, and he beat it every day.
Captain, I really don't want to
Sit
hear...
down and shut the fuck up and listen to my story, Lieutenant. That's an order. My father had this dog.
And he beat it every day.
Right. Then one day, without warning, it bit him. Locked onto him. I was alone with him in the house. He sent me for his pistol. He was a colonel. He told me how to load it. All this with the dog eating up his arm. Screaming at me, my father. And when it was loaded, I shot the dog. And it's still wouldn't let go. It had finally got what it had wanted after all those years of beatings, and even after death, it wasn't going to let go. So I had to get his hunting knife and begin to work on its teeth. I was 7 years old.
That's illuminating. A parable. You shot the dog.
Had to.
Will you shoot here?
Ah, but you missed the parable's point. You're too easily distracted by guns.
So what's the point?
The point is, when you back people against the wall, they may surrender, or they may put up a fight that will leave you crippled. My father was never able to use that arm again in his life. People get hurt. That's the point.
These people are used to being beaten. The point here is make sure they don't forget who's holding the leash. If you are holding the leash. At least you've got me to command. You're my captain, Captain Bow Wow.
Tell you something. There's a part of me that would love to shoot one or two of these women. There's a part of me that would love to shoot you. But any thug can use a gun. They can make trouble, and you can make threats. But we have to move ahead, and we'll drag the rest of you kicking and screaming into the 20th century.
20th century? We're already there.
Not in this country, we're not.
On the contrary, what would the 20th century be without countries like ours? So, what bone will you throw them?
Now that's the real surprise.
Act 3, Scene 21.
I like to tell myself that this is my revenge. I like to tell myself that if I had not been expelled from my country, this story would not have been told. After all, I made it up, word for word, character by character, all invented while I watched from afar my country resisting and then being raped, the legs of each object of my country being forced open, the arms of my country, the arms of each object in my country being pinned down so the legs could be forced open. Every last thing in my country eroded and made unfamiliar, filled with the wrong seed. I wrote it all down night after night after night because there was nothing else I could do with myself. No other way to keep hope alive. And yet, I'm beginning to suspect that rather than the creator of the story, I'm becoming its parasite, a tourist of horror, the voyeur of a struggle I could not join, possessed by peasant women I know nothing about, lives I had barely glanced at from a passing car, people I had no right to speak for. I feel more and more that I am the mirror of a mirror, and that they are the ones who invented me, whispered life to me in the dark, imagined someone like me to carry their story so I could tell it to those remote people who spend their lives indifferently switching in different channels, those supposedly safe people who need to know, even if they are not aware of their need. Who is to say that I am not the invention of those women? Are you sure, as you sit there, like me, watching them, that you have more, let me say the word, more reality than they do? Are you sure that someone has not invented you? Who are we to say that this story did not happen? It is not happening somewhere at this very moment.
Act 3, Scene 22. Emmanuel and Cecilia at the river. She's got a suitcase and she's disheveled, clambering along the riverbank with Emmanuel in pursuit.
You're fucking everything up. Please, baby. You have to.
I have to get away from here. You lied. You said he wasn't coming back, but he is. You'll see the grave. They'll tell him what I did.
He's dead. Theo is dead.
He's not.
I killed him.
You're a liar.
You don't want him dead. You don't love me.
Take me to the city. Now. Then I'll be better. then I can forget. I can't hear, but there. We have to go now.
She stops suddenly, looking ahead of her at the river.
Oh no. Oh no.
What? What is it? Celia!
In a terrible panic, Celia begins running away from the river. He stands pulling his gun out, looking where she's looked. He sees nothing. He runs after her, grabs her.
Let me go! Let me
What's
go!
wrong? What's wrong? There's nothing!
It's him!
There's nothing in the water!
Theo's in the water! I saw
She
him!
breaks away and now begins to run towards the river.
Stop, Celia! God damn it! Stop it!
He fires his gun into the air. She stops, but doesn't turn to look at him.
Don't. Please don't kill me.
Emmanuel walks past her to the river.
Oh God, forgive me. God, forgive me.
Shut the fuck up.
Emmanuel wades into the river. He returns carrying a wet, tattered piece of black cloth.
You see? Nothing. River trash, you see? You scared the shit out of me. Women. You see?
Put the gun away.
Emmanuel puts the gun away.
Did you really think it was?
It was. I thought it was. Yes.
But it wasn't.
They stand looking at each other, winded.
It wasn't. Say it wasn't Theo.
It wasn't him.
Say Theo's never coming back. Say Theo's never coming back. I'm leaving.
He starts to exit. She follows.
No, you stay. By the river with him. Just don't come near me again.
I can't be alone. I'll kill myself.
I'm going to the city. That's where I belong. I'll find a woman there without dirty hands who's never washed in a river. Peasant.
I'll kill myself.
I hope you all do. It's deep enough here. Do it.
Act 3, Scene 23. The captain alone on stage. As he speaks, the women of the village assemble, except Fidelia, who watches from the other side of the stage with the baby in her arms. Next to her is Alexis.
When I arrived here in Camacho, I believed we had a bargain. That I would exercise my authority with reason and restraint, and you would learn to look forward to what life would become. Well, I've lived up to my side of the bargain, and you haven't lived up to yours. You have made yourselves a spectacle with this half-witted conspiracy to mock me, but we are stuck with one another. And I intend to show you that you can forgive your adversaries and even do them a service in the name of that future life. I am pleased to release the first prisoner under the terms of the amnesty decree. You see, whoever it is dumping dead bodies in the river can only give you dead bodies. I can give you living men.
He claps his hands. Two soldiers come in escorting a man, who walks stooped and stiff. They lead him to face the man. He never raises his head. None of the women move. They stare at the man. Maybe they recognize him, or are afraid they do.
Sofia Fuentes, this afternoon, Alonso Fuentes, your son.
Act 3, Scene 24. Lights change and everyone leaves, except the Fuentes women, as the Fuentes house materializes around them. Yanina takes the baby from Fidelia.
He's coming back, my heavy little man. I promised you he would. He's tall, your papa, like a tree. But don't be scared of him.
We have to hurry. He'll be here soon.
Alexandra takes the baby from Yanina and gives him to Alexis, who leaves as Sophia enters with the bathing equipment. Yanina removes her widow's flag. The women surround her and bathe her.
Don't catch cold.
When they're done, Sophia takes a blanket and wraps Yanina in it. They exit. Alexandra and Fidelia are left alone in the yard.
Why did they let Alonso go and not Papa? Are you happy for Yanni, Mama?
Oh, Fidelia.
Why do you always ask such hard questions? Come here.
Mother and daughter stand looking at each other.
Your father too. He asks hard questions. You're both pains in the ass. When the women were claiming they recognized, for a moment, I almost wanted it to be him. It would almost be a relief. Do you understand?
Yes, Mama.
You're a smart girl. I can't tell you how much I hurt.
Yanina appears in the doorway in a brilliant green dress. Alexandra turns around.
Where did you?
Alonso, when I got pregnant, he went into town and bought it for me. He said he'd remember when I got big with the baby, what I'd looked like after the baby was born. I never wore it since he went away before. Do I look okay?
You look like a fancy lady.
How fancy?
10 pesos an hour.
Oh, Alex. Oh, Alex, I'm so sorry.
Shut up.
Do I smell okay?
Like pine sap.
Like on my wedding night.
On your wedding night you smelled like cheap wine.
Alexis comes into the yard from the house carrying the baby.
Oh, I got so drunk.
Alonso steps into the yard. The women don't see him. Alexis does. He looks at Alonso for a moment and then says,
Mama, he's...
Yanina and Alexandra turn. A frozen moment. Then Yanina runs to Alonso and they embrace. Sophia and Fidelia come out of the house.
We've made some soup. It will...
Sophia and Alonso look at each other. Behind them, the other women of the family drift in.
Sophia? Sophia, come here. It's your son. Don't you... Look how thin he is. He's so thin and pale. You can see through him almost. Sophia!
It's not him.
What are you talking about? Of course it is.
It's his body, but it's not him.
Oh God, she's lost her mind completely. Alexandra, tell her to...
Where's his soul? What have they done with his soul? Ask him that. His soul's with the others. Ask him where they are. Ask him what he did to make them let his body go. What did you do, my baby?
Oh God.
Who did you have to betray?
Oh God, Sophia, stop. This is Alonso. This is your son. He never had anything to do with politics. What could he have done? Betray? He didn't know a thing. Alonso, tell her. Tell her you don't know what she's talking about. Tell her.
She goes to Alexis and takes the baby from him.
Look, this is your son. This is...
Yes, I...
Come inside. Come inside. Don't you want to...
Alonso kneels slowly. He lowers his head.
They keep you blindfolded in a room. You know where they are taking you by how many steps. 31 steps is the bathroom. 44 is exercise. If you go over 60 steps and down a staircase, there is no other place they can be taking you. Every day, they said just one name. And so and they wanted more names. So I every name I knew. Your name?
Whatever you had to do to live, I don't care. Whatever he had to do.
Where is Emiliano? Do you?
Alonso stands. He turns in a full circle, looking at all the women around him.
I haven't seen him. I haven't seen anyone. Since the day they took us, they split us up and I haven't seen anyone since. They split us up and I haven't seen him since.
Sophia goes to him, takes his hand, kisses it, and sings very softly a lullaby without words. When she's done, she lets go his hand and turns away.
Yani, Alonso is tired. Feed him. Put him to bed.
Sophia goes into the house. We see the empty chair illuminated. She goes to it. On the other side of the stage, the narrator watches her.
Whatever he had to do.
Sophia returns with Emiliano's chair.
That's Emiliano's chair. Where are you going with my husband's chair?
To the river.
Why?
You know why. Poor Alexandra. So good and strong. They sent me back my men. The first 2 by the river. The 3rd by the road. All dead. Now, I go back to the river to wait for the last.
Act 3, Scene 25. The narrator watches the women disappear. He is alone on the stage, for the first time without the chair.
These are my last words. Because if I stay, if I continue to speak, I will inevitably start to speak about myself. So I am going. Where am I going? Again, does it matter? Is it important? Maybe I'm disappearing into the story, or maybe I'm returning home under a false name, crossing the border, hoping I won't be recognized, entering the room where my children are trying to sleep, the son who looks just like me, the daughter born after I went into exile and whom I have never touched. But you see, already I'm talking about myself. This is not my story. I don't want to be the one figure in this story other people can identify with, find familiar, like a journalist who comes in, comfortably determines who is good and who is evil, and then, feeling superior, tells the outside world about the atrocities. I do not want to become that figure. It cannot be that the only way to make people care about this perverse fairy tale is to give them a personal hook. What is known about me is already too much, more than enough. That this was how I brought myself back to life, my words going where my body could not go, my eyes witnessing what people back home did not dare to whisper, and what people out here did not care about. The world is full of stories about people with broken marriages, children who grow up without their father, men who dream of women who are true, journalists who explore and explain the mysteries of a world they do not belong to. This is not about me. This is not my story.
The narrator leaves. Act 3, Scene 26. Sophia at the river with the chair. Teresa enters, dragging a chair behind her.
What are you doing here?
I came to wait too.
Whose chair?
My brothers.
Sebastian?
No, Fernando.
Oh, it's bitter tonight. You'll catch cold.
I'm as tough as you.
Oh, start a fire. We're both old.
There's no wood.
They look at the chairs. Teresa sets hers on fire, then Sophia does.
Good fire. It makes me angry.
Not 2 chairs. It's not much heat.
Not yet. There'll be others.
Act 3, Scene 27. Emmanuel at the Castorias. We see 2 huge leather armchairs facing upstage, cigar smoke curling up from them. They're both occupied, but we can't see their occupants at first. Philip Castoria and his brother. We will see Philip where indicated, but we never see the brother. Emmanuel stands diffidently by. Beatrice Castoria stands off to one side, staring out a window.
Tell your captain I'm not reassured.
Yes, Mr. Castoria.
2 bodies, and now this multitude of widows. I mean, how much longer is this going to go on? And this business of letting politicals go, I mean, what is it? Whose idea of restoring order is that? You sure we can't give you something to drink, Emmanuel?
No, thank you very much, Mr. Castoria.
Are they feeding you, Emmanuel? You look thin.
Boy has always been thin, Beatrice.
I've never forgiven Mr. Castoria for giving you over to the army.
Thank you, Mrs. Castoria.
The people we have now are strange to us. I don't like them. Why don't you come back?
He's useful to me. The others are dribbling idiots.
Thank you, Mr. Castorian.
I think your captain is making a royal mess of this. My brother agrees.
He gestures to the chair.
I'd like you to tell your captain.
I think, Mr. Castorian, that he's only trying to...
Lax.
Excuse me, please? I'm sorry, but I...
Philip, tell him to tell his captain that he's being lax. 8 years of hard work will come undone overnight, and before you know it, they'll be climbing the fence. Like before, digging their twisted fingers into our land again. Killing a few more if they haven't learned their lesson yet. God help us when the lower echelon military starts to think, squeamish. Replace him, demote him, give his job to this boy here. Someone who will cut it dead. It's been going on for weeks. End it. Tell him that, Philip.
Yes. Well,
What?
The
Foreign press? Buried on page 50 of the afternoon edition. They don't want to be reading this garbage. They want to be reading about a little American girl trapped in a well. In Texas. Texas.
Well, I admire the captain.
Philip, she's starting again.
What do they want? These women? The bodies of their husbands?
Beatrice, please.
Well, give them what they ask for. It's a Christian thing to do.
Mrs. Castoria has been nervous. Why?
Why do you always say I'm nervous when I disagree with you? I'm not nervous. I'm afraid. You know what I overheard the cooks in the kitchen saying, Emmanuel?
Oh, not this.
They were talking about the women at the river. And they were saying that they had heard that bodies were turning up everywhere. Even here. Even on our property, in the private fields, in the orchards.
Ooh.
Shut up, Philip. They were whispering, but I could hear them. They said that these corpses, they were decomposing and faceless.
Beatrice, please. That's very unpleasant.
And at night, they said they seen them walking around, dirty, and nothing could stop them because nothing can stop the dead. That's what she said. Nothing can stop the dead. And 2 nights ago, Philip, I didn't tell you this, but I woke up from a bad dream and I went downstairs and they'd left all the doors and windows open. The servants had left everything open so that the dead could come in.
Baby. You see, Emmanuel, why women would make good soldiers. This is why this situation has come to an end. It's gotten to be intolerable. I want you to tell your commanding officer that.
I will, sir.
Oh, I have to use my own men. Understand?
Yes, sir. I understand. I'll make sure the captain understands.
Oh, I think the captain is starting to understand all sorts of things, Emmanuel.
Ah, well, Saviour. I was on the phone to your father this morning.
In the background, we see the other women join Sophia and the first woman at the riverbank. They carry wooden chairs.
Look, Philip, in the valley. Smoke.
Yes, the women. All 36 widows, building a bonfire. Actually, one isn't there. She drowned herself this morning. I think it was someone you know.
Emmanuel spins around to face the lieutenant. They stare at each other.
What in hell is going on?
The whole village, burning chairs.
Once they get their hands on fire.
That does it. I'm taking this into my own hands.
That won't be necessary. I know this captain. All he needed was time.
Act 3, Scene 28. The captain and the lieutenant in the captain's office.
It's an impressive blaze. It can be seen for miles. Everyone who sees it will wonder, who is in command in Camacho?
What do they want? I gave them back I showed them how to get some of their men back, but it's like they're in love with death, begging me to pull the trigger.
They want all their men back. Not just one, not just some. All.
All? That's impossible.
Possible. No more.
What?
No more. That's what they'll say.
No more what?
Ask them. No more.
You must be very pleased.
Pleased?
Well, you were right. Now you get what you want. My resignation. And targets. Maybe hundreds. Vindication. Recreation.
Recreation? Captain, that's unfair. You think I enjoy this? That boy the other day. You think I enjoyed that?
Did you?
I have a brother his age. You've tried to make things better for them, and predictably, they'll have to suffer for your good intentions. They get the butt end of everything, these people. I pity them.
And you despise me.
Captain, we're wearing the same uniform.
Meaning you're ready to step into my boots.
Meaning we share the same mother. Meaning that, like brothers, we stand by each other when mistakes are made. I am yours to command.
Perhaps I have misjudged you. Arrest the old Fuentes woman.
I suggest a more direct approach.
Arrest her. The leader. More surgical.
Just remember, fires spread. There are lots of empty chairs all over this valley, all over the country, ready for kindling. A lot of people are watching.
Watching me.
Watching us.
Thank you. Perhaps at some point in the future, you and I can spend a social evening together in the city. Find some attractive women. Women around here are remarkably ugly.
Remarkably stubborn. Fine. There is no reasoning with them, that crazy old woman.
Oh, I'll reason with her. I will show her how irresistibly persuasive reason can be. I'll break her fucking back.
I'll go get her.
And pick up her grandson while you're at it. If you'd rather not do the boy, I can send Emmanuel.
That's considerate of you, Captain.
It's nothing. I had a special mother. She taught me as a child to always be my brother's keeper.
So did mine.
Act 3, Scene 29. The Fuentes' house. The yard is strewn with the family's belongings. Fidelia sits in the rubble. Alonso sits on the steps of the house, holding the baby. Yanina stands, looking at the ruination. She goes to Alonso, holds his head, pats him tenderly, then gently takes the baby from his arms. Alonso begins to cry quietly. Yanina walks the baby to the middle of the yard. Alexandra enters, breathing very hard, her hair wild, her clothes torn, and her face bloody.
I'll never see him again.
Don't say that. He's too smart for them. Fidelia?
Fidelia doesn't move.
Fidelia, Yanni's talking to you.
Take your uncle inside, Fidelia. He needs to go inside.
Fidelia gets up. She and Alexandra look at each other. Then Fidelia takes Alonso by the hand and leads him in.
You're a mess.
Is the baby all right?
Smiling. You'll get him back. We'll cooperate. They'll bring him back. They won't hurt a boy.
Alonso comes in.
Yanina.
She goes to him.
All night he thrashes and he cries. His beautiful back is just scars. Who are the men who did this to you? Who do you see in your dreams? When will they pay for your scarring? I want to go into your dreams and drag those men out from the dark and into the daylight. I feel such rage. I think it will kill me.
Fidelia enters.
When they took Emiliano away, I thought if I keep quiet and still, they won't hurt him. And he'll come back someday, safe. They made me dance their steps every day ever since. Quiet and still. We all thought that. But there's always someone else they can take. I want my boy safe, but we have to say an end to this. Finally an end. They have to give us back our men. They have to give us what's ours. Living, dead. Give us back the men. And if the men are murdered, then give us their murderers. It's justice.
Alonso, I'm going down to be with the women at the river.
Yanina.
If there was time, I could heal this, but there's no time. Take the baby.
Yanina goes to Fidelia, who backs away a step. Yanina hands her the baby, and then picks up a chair lying in the yard and begins to exit.
Mama, I'm going to. I want to go with you. Someone needs to watch the baby.
Alonso can do that.
No, I don't think Alonso can.
It's not my baby. I don't know what to do with him. If he gets upset,
Feed him.
if there's no food.
Talk to him. Tell him stories.
Mama, please don't go.
Carry me with you. Be a home for me.
She picks up the remaining chair.
I'm your mother.
Alexandra and Yanina put their arms around each other and go out of the yard to the river. Fidelia watches them leave. Act 3, Scene 30. In a cell. The captain, Emmanuel, and Sophia. It's almost completely dark. There's sound of water dripping.
Talk. Talk, you old savage. You think this is heroic? You think anyone even knows this is happening? I will load your body and their bodies onto the back of a wagon and dump you in a deep pit somewhere. And after the quick climb in the dirt, that's all. That's it. That's all that it will be. Just nothing. End it. You can. End it, or I'll end it. Lights, goddammit! Do you think I'm a fucking bat?
Emmanuel turns on the lights. Everyone blinks.
Bring in the boy.
Sophia reacts.
Aha! She moves.
Emmanuel brings in Alexis. His hands are tied behind him. He has a stained canvas hood over his head. His shirt is ripped and one shoulder is bloody and obviously dislocated.
He's a boy.
He's a man. This is as big as he gets.
The captain clamps his hand on Alexis' shoulder.
He can't help you.
But he's already got you talking. He's almost a miracle, this boy. Send the women to their homes. Cooperate, or he'll go off into the darkest corner of the most godforsaken hellhole prison. Sure as there's a God in heaven, he will. And then... You hear me? You will never see this boy again. You hear me? We will hurt him.
Grandma? Captain, do you have children, Captain? A favor. In the name of your children, I need a few minutes with him alone to say goodbye.
Mother of God. You're insane. This boy is alive. And you can keep him alive. Feel. Feel.
He grabs her hand, forces it to Alexis' chest over his heart.
He's alive. Feel his heart.
She keeps her hand on his heart. The captain slaps her hand away.
What do I have to do to get you to go to the river?
We want the men to come home. All of them. You took them living. We want them back living. And if they're dead, we want to bury them.
But I offered you that.
And after that, we want the killers punished. This is what we all want. All of us. By the river.
The tragedy of this country is that it doesn't have to be dry and barren. It's waiting to blossom. It wants to be green, but no one understands that you move forward in steps, not all at once. And if you ask too much, you wind up with nothing but dust. This boy could learn to read. He could vote. He could become something good for his country. He could do that. A citizen. His pain, his ugly death, is your dream for him, not mine.
The captain unholsters his gun, holds it near Alexis' head.
Ask her to save your life. Ask her. Ask her!
He rips off the hood. Alexis closes his eyes, stands swaying.
Grandma?
A few minutes.
What do I get if I give you that?
Maybe some peace. You'll need it later. Peace
I'm not granting any more requests. You have nothing to say to him anyway.
He cocks the trigger.
Could I touch him?
What for?
Please.
You tire me, woman.
He indicates with his head that she can touch Alexis. Sophia approaches her grandson, touches his heart again. There is a moment when nothing happens, and then the lights change suddenly. Sophia and Alexis are alone.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
They can't hear us, my little man. I can't protect you, my baby. Do you understand why?
No.
Do you forgive me?
Yes.
I have something to tell you. There are villages of the living and villages of the dead surrounding us always. Press up against the wall behind you. There's a hand in the stone. Reach for it. Hold it.
I'm scared.
Yes. The hand is there. Do you feel it?
I don't feel anything.
It is your father. You know his hand.
Yes.
It's a strong hand. It's so gentle for you, so you can be brave. For the ones who come after you, for the ones who come after. People like us don't die. We will be there in the stones of the wall. You and I and the many others. We will be there together, my little man. My baby. Till the walls come down.
The lights return. The captain takes her hand from the boy's chest. He looks at Sophia.
God forgive you. God forgive us all.
A blackout. First one gunshot, then another. Lights up immediately. Fidelia and the baby. Below them at the river, the women and the soldiers gather. Act 3, Scene 31.
You must learn how to talk. You'll need to talk. There are things you'll have to tell. But if you decide never to speak, your stories will get told anyway. There are stories that cry out to be told, and if the words aren't there, they will seep through the skin. The wind carries them. The smoke does. The river does. The words of the story will find their way from the farthest, loneliest places to places where there are people willing to hear. I can wait. I can wait for you to speak. I'm patient. I can wait a long time.
She exits. Brilliant sunlight by the river. The women. Opposite them, many soldiers, heavily armed. The captain and Emmanuel, waiting. The lieutenant arrives.
This country is hopeless. They'll have to depopulate it. The whole country. Bring in other people. People from outside. People with some other kind of mind.
The captain looks at the women.
Perhaps you'd rather I gave the order, sir.
I can do that.
The soldiers draw their rifle bolts. Assume position.
Women, this is your last chance. Go to your homes. Obey, or I will signal my men to move you. They will use as much force as is necessary. Men, I want the riverbank cleared.
The captain looks again at the women. They look at him. There is suddenly the loud cry of an animal. A blackbird or... Everyone, the women, the soldiers, looks up. Then back down because the river is beginning to sound again. The women move to the river, silently. Then go into the water and carry a body out onto the riverbank. They advance towards the soldiers, then stop. They look at each other, then they advance again, as they rock the body like a newborn child. out. End of play.